So we're taking a look at one attack per measure, and I'd like to introduce our old friend metronome. And so I just happen to have my cell phone metronome out. I use the Pro metronome, and if you want, I can link it in the description or whatever of the video. 60 beats per minute, like we're walking down the street, comfortably walking down the street. And we'll start with one attack per measure, and this is going to surprise you more than you might think if we're new to strumming and we're really looking for something important to collect that we can perfect and bring into add to our own strumming patterns, right? So most of us think about 4/4 or 4 beats per measure. So we'll do that. That's so common that in fact it's called common time, which you probably already know. But 1, 2, T, boom. So that's one attack per measure, or a whole note. So you got that. It's a lot of fun. I could play it all day long, but I'm just dropping my pick through the string set. I've got enough tension in my right arm to keep my arm here, and when I let my arm go, when I let the tension in my arm go, my arm falls to the ground over here, swings over here. But I want to try to control that drop here. So once I get through the string set, I'm going to arrest that fall. I'm not forcing my hand through the string set, so there's a difference here. What we're doing is we're understanding that there's a really deep range of dynamics on the acoustic guitar, or on any guitar for that matter. But more specifically, the acoustic guitar is a very sensitive instrument. So we're just going like this, and then dropping through the strings and arresting the fall just as we get through the last string. You could practice that a little bit here if you like. We don't always need to practice playing on the downbeat, right? So we frequently will learn to play on 1, 2, T, 4, 2, 2, T, bow, 3, 2, T, bow, 4 bars, 2, T, bow. But one attack could happen anywhere in the measure, like any quarter note, any eighth note, any 16th note. So let's practice playing only on beat number 2. Rest, 2, T, bow. Rest, 2, T, bow. T, bow. And you notice I palm mute the strings to come to a close so that they stop. 1, 2, let's play on 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And this is how we learn how to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's really important to know exactly where we are in the measure at any given moment, because, we could become lost or bewildered if not. Let's try playing on beat number 4. 2, T, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, T. 1, 2, T. 1, 2, T. Okay, so that's enough of that for now. Let's go to 2 attacks per measure. So let's evenly distribute those for the moment. Even though we could get as creative as we wanted to with that, let's just use beats number 1 and 3, the 2 strongest beats in a rock beat. 1, 2, here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're training our right arms to be there where the beginning of the string set is and where the end of the string set is. Okay? Let's try on beats 2 and 4 now. 1, 2, T, bow. 1, 2, T, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You gotta keep counting. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you notice how my right hand just bounces around a little bit here. I'm kind of engaged in the 16th note grid here. 1, 2, E, and a T, E, and a Fo, E, and. But all I need is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just to know where those downbeats are. We could attack on beats 1 and 4. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, T, 4. 1, 2, T, 4. Right, and that's a completely different sound. We could play on beats 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And they all have different musical applications. So it's very important to get an understanding of where that quarter note grid is before we start breaking it down into eighths and sixteenths. That quarter note grid is super important, and it really gives our right hands, and not so much the fret hands at this point, but the right hand, this muscle tissue here, and then here and up here, and then we have a little bit of wrist motion here where we sort of rotate the pick away as we strum down. So let's pay careful attention as we start working on 3 attacks per beat or per measure. So 1, let's start with, the first contiguous, the downstrokes will be all next door to one another, and we'll leave a gap on 4. And then we'll play a gap on 1, and then 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Good. And you notice that I'm doing the old Bruce Lee here, the old karate chop or kung fu chop, or what, I don't really know what I'm talking about. It's some kind of palm, we'll just call it a palm mute, okay? So I'm just resting my palm on all of the strings to choke the strings out or mute them out so that they come to a stop, a nice even stop, instead of just letting them ring and, and making it sort of arbitrary where it ends, where all the notes end up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that beat on 1 could be a cannon fire, And there are so many reasons why we would create these other rhythmic patterns, right? So there's a lot going on here. So let's just jump right into 4 attacks per measure, okay? Without really doing all of the work that we need to. We'll come back and in a minute, we'll come back and appreciate, and we'll fully revisit the 1 attack per measure, but let's just kick this a little bit around. 1, 2, T, and all downstrokes. Nice and even. And we try to get each downstroke to sound equal to the other ones so that they're the same loudness, the same amount of times the pick takes to scrape through all of the strings. But we could make one louder and then softer, and then one louder, soft, a little louder, and then softest. Loud, soft, louder, softest. Whoop. And while you're doing this, while you're studying this kind of strumming on your own time, it's like riding a bike. Once you hear the idea, and it's really easy to understand what's going on, but until you actually do it, you get on the bike and you take the training wheels off and you do this, your right hand that rhythm starts getting in your body, and then you start understanding it, that little light goes on, and then you become, a rhythm guitar player. And one of the most difficult things to do on the planet is to become a really great rhythmic guitar player. Let's jump back to one attack per beat, right? Or before we do that, let's go ahead and remember how we used all of the downstroke, or all of the beats as downstrokes. We could actually use all of the beats as upstrokes, and that way we tune up our right arms too, so that we get used to practicing upstrokes as well. But we're working against gravity here, so it's a little different, and plus the sounds coming from high to low. So you have to work, if you're anything like me, you have to work hard to kind of dial in a good sound, like constant sound. If you were to record yourself playing this for 4 bars or 16 bars or whatever, so 16 times 4, 4 bars, and you listen to yourself playing it back, you would notice, if you're anything like me, you would notice that there's quite a bit of variation between each stroke, especially when we're trying to make each one identical. So it's a challenge, and the recording is a pretty great little secret, so you can benefit from that if you'd like. Just record as long as you want, and listen, and critically listen back. It is so helpful as an advancing guitar player to record and listen back to what you do. I know it's not really popular. I know it's really sometimes painful to do, but it's so important, and I encourage you to do that too. So let's get back to upstrokes. 1, 2. Then we could introduce down and upstrokes. Simple and basic strumming patterns are so easily overlooked for most guitar players, and that's where our clean sound comes from, is studying those fundamentals and those basics. So even if you're here as an advancing guitar player, it's always nice for people like us to come back and practice our breathing, and practice our strumming, and practice the things that ignited our passions for the guitar in the first place. So let's go back to one attack per beat. So I could use 1, 2, 3, 4, or I could use 1 and 2, 3, 4, or I could use 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Yeah, we could displace that downstroke anywhere we wanted within the measure. And so if you had one attack, you could practice 1 and 2 and 2 and 4 and 1, 2, 2 and 4 and 1, 2, and really getting it right in there, dialed in. But you could also get a little more creative if you'd like. You could pick, 1 and then the and of 3 and then 4, right? So it's a little more challenging, but you could use 3 attacks in one measure, and you could use any of the eighth notes, 1 and then the and of 3 and 4. So it's going to look like this. If you create your own patterns, that would be great. You got to practice all of them. They've got to be all practiced, and 1 and 2 and T and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1. So it could be a really nice ending pattern, you know, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. We could do 1, 2 and 1, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3. So that's what? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and so on 1, on the end of 2, on 3, and on the end of 4, and it creates this really cool It's hard to stick with a metronome. It's just another one of those things to observe religiously, you know. You could use all downstrokes with the 8th note grid too, and you could play 8 beats per measure or 8 attacks per measure. But I encourage you to keep practicing with a metronome. Just make it your best friend. It's a new and old best friend. You'll be playing around with the metronome and studying with it for years. And unless you have any other questions, I'm going to duck out for today. But I hope you had a good time. I just wanted to get with you today and sit through the fundamentals of strumming the guitar. And I think we've done that. If you have any questions about what we covered today, feel free to leave those in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions about things that you would like to learn more about, please leave those in the comments below, because that's what we're going to pay attention to. You can, we're really good about taking a look at that and trying to be responsive to those things, and being there for you and being there with you on the guitar. So without further ado, I'd like to let you go and encourage you to have a wonderful day and happy picking. If you're still here, you can look at that playlist that talks about, chord rabbit holes and stuff like that. It's right up on the left-hand side of this, or the right-hand side of the screen, or something like that. Feels really great when you lock in